What's up, DIY Queens? It's your design bestie, Cara Newhart, and this is Make Space.
Welcome back to Make Space. It's me, Cara, and today I think I should help you change your entire perspective on how you think about design. No pressure. But essentially, I think when the everyday person thinks about design, the first thing we consider is interior designers, how the space looks, before and afters, HGTV shows, very tangible and very visual things, right? But that is only half of the equation. And so I think when you, as someone who's not a trained designer, are stepping into taking charge of your house, that's where you think to start. And it can really feel challenging because that's the second half of the process. That's the physical, tangible action part of the process. And the first phase is actually the intention and the planning and knowing why you're doing what you're doing. So I want to give you a very tangible way to think about this. And the struggle with this and teaching this is that design is so personal. So I can't really tell you here's the 12-step process to designing the perfect room, because your process is going to be so different depending on what you want out of your space, depending on your unique perspective and how you work creatively. So instead, we're going to explore this as themes. So there are 5 core themes when it comes to designing homes that center our daily lives and well-being. And if you're leaving out one or more of these themes, your home is not well designed in terms of serving your everyday life, or you being able to get the most out of your spaces. And so there's lots of things that play into this. There's the unseen part, and there's the tangible physical seen part, which is the part we all think of. The shift I want to help you make is that we've talked about this before, but we all seem to set, but it seems to be very normalized for us to set goals for our fitness and goals for our finances, even though we're not a financial planner or a fitness instructor necessarily, but we feel comfortable taking on that in terms of deciding what we want to achieve in those areas. But our homes, we don't set goals for our homes. And my argument is that even though you're not a trained designer, you still are allowed to and should take charge of creating spaces that support your everyday life. And just because you aren't a designer doesn't mean that that's not within reach for you, just as you can do that for your fitness and finances, even though you might not have actual vocational training in those fields. It's your environment, where the other two are our budgets and our fitness. Taking charge of your home is just being intentional about your environment. And yeah, that's totally within reach. So I want to go over these 5 themes, and I want you to, as we're going through them, identify which one you may be really competent at. There might be one of these where you're oh yeah, I got that part. I really think about that a lot and I feel comfortable doing that. And then there might be one where you're wow, I've actually never considered that, or I could do it more. I could think of that more often and be more intentional about that theme. Okay, so the first one is function. And we've talked about this on the show a lot, but my personal belief is that good design perfectly balances function and aesthetics. But that is not necessarily true for everyone. Between function and aesthetics, how it works and how it looks, it's like a spectrum, like a sliding scale. And some people are on different ends of that spectrum or closer to one side. So there are people that only care about function. I don't care what it looks like. If it works, it's great. And then there are people that are really far to the other side. I really need it to look a certain way for me to feel happy in my house. And then there's people anywhere in the middle. So this isn't something that is there's a right place to be. My personal preference is to try to hit right in the middle, but that's not necessarily the only way to do it. And it's not the correct way to do it. It's just personal preference. But I think when we can think of it that way and kind of identify like where we prefer to be on that scale, it's a lot more freeing, and you can like be comfortable that if you're a function person and you have had your couch for 800 years and it still works and it works and you want to keep it, like you don't need to replace it, because that is a perfectly valid choice for you, because that's where you fall on this scale. But further to get into them. So function is essentially the physical characteristics of the space that support how it works, how it functions, and your everyday routine. So examples of this would be like a floor plan of the actual walls, like how you have to walk from room to room, the furniture layout within that room, like what actual furniture pieces you have that you can use. Like, is there a bookshelf to functionally store your books? Measurements, like more of the, like, what is it? Left brain? What's the brain where you're like, you like math and logic, whatever that brain is. It's more on that side of the spectrum where you're like, it needs to work and it needs to make sense and it needs to be logical. That's kind of like the function theme. And so some people, like, you may be very comfortable here. You may be like, I set up my house to function well. It has everything I need to support my daily routine, and I crushed it. Or you might be more on the other side of that sliding scale where you're like, I really took a lot of time to make things pretty, but they don't necessarily function well. And one of the best ways to identify what's functioning well is like what stays naturally organized. Like if you were to live in your house for a week and like you can look at the areas where things pile up, like in the entryway where there's a bunch of shoes left, or that chair in your room where you like throw all your clothes that aren't quite dirty but aren't quite clean. So areas where things are like piling up could use more function, or areas that just feel like a struggle, like if we're tripping over things, or it's just there's lots of clutter areas. That's how you can identify what's functioning well and what's not, or one of the ways. So the question here is like, where have you intentionally thought about function, and what kind of elements have you included to make that happen? So it could be like a desk that you added in a room to make it a dual work from home space / bedroom. So kind of looking around your house, like what's working function wise and what isn't, and just kind of observing how this is happening in your house already. Okay, the other side of that spectrum is the second theme, which is aesthetics. So aesthetics is pretty much how it looks. With aesthetics, we are leveraging design elements to create a unique point of view or to tell a story through our space so that our home reflects our life. So aesthetics is the how it looks, but it's deeper than that. It's like how we're creatively expressing ourselves through our house. So if you just have a house that's purely functional, like it could be like really, I mean, it might not have any personality. It could just be like the typical metal chairs that, you know, you could see anywhere. And so aesthetics is really when we get to have our own spin on it, on our own creative point of view, and also tell our story, which I think is the best starting place for your personal style, is like thinking about your story, either literal places you've been and like family photos or a rock you found on vacation, all the way to like kind of the intangible stuff of like the story of who you are and what you like, and how you can use design elements, whether that's a throw pillow or paint, to kind of tell that story. So examples of this would be paint colors, patterns, textures, decor elements, finishes, like whether you like matte black or gold or chrome. Those kind of like design choices are on the aesthetic side. And so some people are really comfortable here where they're like, all I want to do is play around with throw pillows and go to Home Goods and buy decor, and are like really have spent a lot of time thinking about their personal style or playing around with design elements to hone their style. And these are usually the people we look to where we're like, oh, they have taste, or they're a good designer. May not necessarily be that they have a natural talent for this. It may be that they've just spent more time curating that, which is interesting. And this might be an area, if you're on the function side of the spectrum, that you haven't explored very much, because you're like, it works. It doesn't matter what color it is or how it looks. Like, it works, and I'm just going to stick with it. So this is an area that if you want to spend more time in, I find a lot of people are like intimidated by, because it's like you think you have to be a designer or have good taste to like explore this, when really it's just like exploring it. Like, it's just getting things and rearranging the pillows on a couch, or hanging up art and like looking at it, or painting a paint color on a wall and being like, like, do I like it? And asking yourself those kinds of like questions. So it's more like in the left brain, right brain thing, like the artsy, art appreciation, like creative side, right? And so we all skew one way or another, but it doesn't mean that you can't be both. Like I land somewhere in the middle, I feel, but it doesn't mean you can't be both, and you can't explore like the other side of the coin. Just because you naturally kind of started out on one side, it doesn't mean you can't, have both. So those are the first two themes when it comes to designing your home and taking charge of that process. And I think they're the first two that people like actually think of and connect with. Like, you think of like how it works and how it looks. And when you think of an interior designer, you think that they're like working with these, like they're doing a floor plan and they're picking out furniture and they're picking out the paint color. So yeah, those are the first two. And then the third one is intentionality. So this kind of ties into that idea of like, we set really precise goals for our fitness and finances, but rarely our homes. But intentionality is key in terms of creating spaces that support our well-being. Like, this is, if the first two are kind of the what, this is the why. Like, why are we doing that? Why are we making the choice to have this thing over this thing? Like, why have we made these design selections or choices? Intentionality can be just like a natural process that you just always have running in the back of your head. Like, okay, I'm doing this because of this, and I'm doing this because of this. Or it can be something you really have to like dig into and sit with. And that might look like journaling, or just like reflection and thinking over things, like spending time, like looking at different design choices and figuring out like which one you want and why you want it. But taking time to be intentional about our homes is sort of the filter where we can sort out like what's for us and what isn't for us. So like, if you don't have any intentionality, you would be scrolling on social media and feel very overwhelmed by all of the options, because it would just be an endless stream of possibilities, and you would have no like internal compass to tell you like, yes, that's for me, or no, that's not. And in order to truly say yes and no to things for your home, you have to know why. You have to know like what they're going to do for the space, what they're going to do for your life. And so intentionality, it feels kind of like abstract, but it's just like a sense of like thinking through why you're picking what you're picking, and trusting yourself, trusting your answer. Like, if it's like, I picked this desk because it's correct for me, because it has these features and it's what I want, and I know what I want, and so I want this one. And when you don't have intentionality, or you haven't honed that like self-trust with yourself to be able to say like, here's what I like and I know that about myself, then it can be very overwhelming to make choices. So yeah, some ways you can kind of practice intentionality if it's not like a natural phenomenon for you. And I know it wasn't for me at all, is journaling. I have this actual whole journal that you could get, that if it will guide you through that process specifically for your home. But it doesn't have to be this serious either. Like, you can literally just kind of take a minute to reflect on like what you want the room to do for you, or the kind of person you want to be in that room. So that's theme number 3. And this one, I will say, is like a long game process, right? It's like something you do over and again and over and again, and it changes, right? Like just because something worked for you at one phase of your life doesn't mean that it's going to be correct for you in another phase. Like as you grow and evolve as a person, this is going to change. Your intentions are going to change, and what you want out of your home is going to change. And so understanding that it's more of a process and less of a destination of like, here's the right answer of how to be intentional about your house. It's like, just think through things and just really take time to know why you're choosing what you're choosing and be comfortable enough to revisit that and kind of, like scrutinize your choices. And I think this is specifically, it's easiest to see when it comes to things like trends, right? It's like, everybody's doing this thing. Like, do you want to do it? And you can be like, yeah, I do. No, I don't. But like, why? Are you saying yes because you want to be included and you don't want to have FOMO with everybody having a candle warmer for their candles? Or are you saying yes because you're like, oh my gosh, I've waited my whole life for someone to invent something so that I don't have to light my candles on fire and remember to put them out. And I really hate those wax warmers. And so this is like the solution to my whole life's troubles. Doesn't have to be that dramatic, but you get what I'm saying. Like, know why you're saying yes to a trend. And so the best way to practice intentionality is with trends, because they are so big and sweeping and obvious and easy for you to practice looking at and being like, and here's why, or no, and here's why. So yeah, that's a fun way to practice that. And if you want to get the journal, it's called the Make Space Journal, and it's on Amazon. So just type in Make Space Journal and it will come right up. And it's really cute. I designed this cover so that it will look cute on a coffee table or a bookshelf, and I'm very proud of it. Okay, the next theme is connectivity. So this encompasses leveraging our homes as a space to connect, whether as a family, with friends, or the interconnectedness of the home itself, which the best example there is like smart tech. So connectivity is like how things are working together, how things are flowing, and also highlighting like the relationships happening in our home and kind of centering those over how it looks or how it like functions. And again, sliding scale, like this may be for some people like the main part of their house. Like I'm thinking of my neighbor who would always just like invite us into her house to come play with like all the kids, and it never was perfectly clean, and she didn't care. It was like, I'd rather have people here than worry about how things look. Or the other end of that spectrum where it's like, oh, I can't have people over because the house isn't perfectly clean. So yeah, connectivity tangibly can be like how you decided to set up your living room so there's enough seats for the whole family to hang out. So thinking of it as not just like a function of like what furniture do we need, but like, are there enough seats for everyone to be in here? And like, does your daughter like sitting on the floor in a beanbag versus on the couch? So we get her a beanbag, and it's like kind of tailoring your spaces to the people that live there in ways that are specific to them. So like a beanbag in the living room might not be necessarily like a design trend that like everybody wants, but it's like it works for you and your family and the people that live there. This could also look like if you're buying art, right? Like a lot of people will be like, buy what you love. Like, great. I found that advice is like either really helpful or really not, because there's few times where I look at something and I'm like, I love it, I must have it. Like there's a lot of other considerations that I put into that. And one example of this when it comes to connectivity is like it being a statement piece, like for conversation, so that it's like if you have a beautiful piece of art, part of collecting art is like having a creative perspective and finding things that feel expressive of you or ideas that you like. And so when other people like see your art, it can spark conversation, or it can inspire them, or it can make them feel something. And so when you hear the word like statement piece, to me, I think a lot of people think it like visually stands out and it's like making a statement, but it can also be like it draws you in and it starts a conversation, and it's something that like you can connect with people over because you've intentionally put something interesting or something from your travels or something that feels like you, and you can connect in your house because someone's going to point at that and be like, whoa, where'd you get that? Or like, what is that? Or here's what I think about it. So even choosing specific items that can create conversation is part of connectivity. Another thing would be, and this is more literal, like when you think of hosting, like actually inviting people into your home, this could be how you've chosen to set up your dining room for hosting, like how many chairs do you have? Or I know for me, I have like a console table that's like up against the wall. And then my kitchen's kind of set up as like a coffee shop with these like spinny bucket chairs and a coffee table. But then it's time to have people over. Like that console table pulls into a full dining room table that seats 10. So there's flexibility in terms of like hosting and how many people can sit at the table, and thinking through like what it would look like if I was hosting and inviting people over to my house in that way. It could also be like your backyard design. Like a lot of people really love to host in the backyard, whether it's a stock tank pool or just seating around a fire pit or whatever that looks like backyard games. It's like the ways that you've specifically designed your space to have other people in it and connect with them over a football game or a meal or whatever it is for you. So basically just intentional moments of thought and planning for how you'll share your home with others. And some people, again, this can be kind of a spectrum. Like some people might not entertain a lot, or you live in a really small space, so this isn't as much of a consideration. Other people, if you have people over all the time, might think of this more. But it's like you can turn it up and down depending on you and what you want out of your space. And then the final theme is systems. This one I think is so interesting, and it's something that is like always in the background and we're always referencing it without even knowing it. So essentially, like our homes are living and breathing environments. Like they're not stage spaces like showrooms or inspiration photos. But a lot of times when we talk about homes, we're referencing them as specific moments, like as an inspiration photo or as something we saw in a magazine, and we're referencing them as if they're like, it's like the snapshot of it, versus knowing that it's actually a living, breathing environment that changes each and every day. And so with an environment, and you think of any environment, it's like ecosystem. Like there's a whole system of how it works, from plants growing to decaying, and then those minerals are used as fertilizer for the other plants to grow, and you cycle through seasons, and there's the food chain, and there's all these like systems that happen within an environment to keep it like running and that make it like alive and dynamic. And so if we can shift to thinking of our homes this way, it makes it so much easier to set your house up, because you're not thinking of like styling as like, I will put this on a shelf and there it will stay. Like you're thinking of like, how am I going to live here and move around in my home and use it and interact with it? Because that's what's actually happening. And so when we set up our houses as like a snapshot and an inspo photo, and I styled this, then it does us a disservice, because then we try to live there and use it, and it's like everything's out of place, and now we have clutter, and now we're shaming ourselves for being messy, when really there was just no system in place. And it's not actually like a personal flaw, it's just poorly designed because no one told us how to think about it this way. So examples of systems. The clearest one is organization. So on a daily level, this is like when you go to get ready, like where's your makeup? Is it organized? Do you pull out a drawer, work out of it, put all your makeup on, and then close the drawer and it's done? Or do you have to drag it all out and put it all over the counter and then spend time cleaning it up? The type of system that we choose is what can save us time and make things easier. And the better the system, the less you have to think about it. Like when things are just within reach or easy to get or easy to use and put away, our home just naturally stays more organized. And so a good system, if you're not a naturally organized person like me, in the sense that I kind of I have ADHD, so I wander from one room to the next, and it's not natural for me to like see a mess and want to like put it all away real quick. I just work out of piles. Like I just kind of pile things up. Like you go here and you're going to need to go to the laundry room so you can be a pile. So yeah, when you have a good system, you can like work with your natural tendencies of staying organized or not staying organized to kind of like still have an organized space. Like you don't have to be a super structured, organized person to have an organized home. You just have to have well-designed systems that make it easy and natural for you to keep organized. Does that make sense? So that happens on like a daily level. Another example is like when you come home from work, like, and you kick off your shoes in front of the door and trip over them later. Like, is there a place for them to go? Is there a place for you to hang up your bag? Like, organizing is just making spots for things to be used and then put away when you're done using them, and making that as easy as possible. But a lot of people think of organizing as like, everything is chaos, let's get it all out, and then let's put it in pretty bins so that it's grouped together, which is part of it. But the larger phenomenon happening is that there's a system that we're using. It's not the snapshot of like, and now it's fixed. Yeah. And I learned all this the hard way, which is why I'm allowed to say this, because I struggled for a long time with the messiest house ever. Because I just wasn't good at making systems, wasn't intentional at making systems. Okay, and then that's why we have professional organizers, because it's their job and they're really good at it and it comes very naturally to them. And so for those of us that don't enjoy making systems, like those kinds of resources, whether you pay an organizer to come do it or you just reference like organizers online and get some tips, you don't have to do it the hard way. Another element of organization would look like seasonal decor. So like as we, are thinking about the holidays, it's like how you put away and change out things based on the seasons, whether it's decor, whether it's like clothes. Like I was remembering my childhood closet was just like, your normal closet with like bifold doors, and there wasn't enough room to fit all of our clothes. So we had like a switching thing where we'd take out summer and spring clothes, hang them up, and put winter and fall like up on the shelves in bins. And then every season, like you'd switch out your clothes so that they could all fit. So yeah, there's lots of things like that when it comes to organization, is like daily things, bigger seasonal things, life transition things, if you're moving, or all kinds of things. Another system could be cleaning routines. And I just want to acknowledge the irony in me talking about cleaning right now, because I don't like cleaning. I don't like it because it's like you clean it and then it gets dirty again and then you have to clean again. So it's like, how many hours of my life am I going to spend wiping down the same counter? I'm just not going to do it every 5 seconds. But you need to clean, like you really do. The best thing to reference for this is I did 2 episodes with Becky from Clean Mama, and she is like the queen of cleaning. She has really, really good resources and really practical, and approachable steps. So one of my favorite things that she has is this like weekly cleaning routine that has like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and I think you get a day off or a fun day. It's a fun day if you don't have to clean in my house, but it tells you like what to clean when, so that if you're not a cleaning person, you don't have to think about it. You can just reference her thing and follow the system, and it's pre-made. She also does all kinds of fun things like making your own cleaners. She has a book. I really like her. And so you should go back and listen to those episodes and check out those resources. But in terms of system, like a cleaning routine is going to help you keep your house clean in a very manageable way, where you're doing a little bit every day and it's more maintenance versus like me, where you let everything just get out of hand and then you're like, oh my gosh, this is horrible and horrifying, and how are we living like this? And then you have to spend a whole day like cleaning everything. So yeah, cleaning routines. The next one, in terms of systems that you may or may not think about, would be like grocery shopping, food prep, menus, essentially like how food is coming in and out of your house, like how you're maintaining, like stocking your fridge and stocking your pantry, and then clearing out items when they go bad, or making sure you use them before they go bad. So having a system around that. And some people are really great at this. You do like the meal prepping, and you do like the go grocery shopping once, and then you made this menu so you know what's supposed to be happening every day. Other people like me are not so great, where you just kind of go to the store hungry and you just get what you want to get. And then it doesn't exactly make sense to make meals out of what you bought because you just bought random ingredients. So yeah, spectrum there. But I just highlighting that as a system that happens in your house, and that, something you have to think about. Also things like home maintenance, like changing your filters and all that kind of stuff. And when it comes to systems, it's really helpful to make the system and choose like how you want to do it. Choose like who's doing what role. Like, is your husband going to do the dishes or the trash, or who's changing the furnace filters, or is it all up to you? Or do you have roommates? Like creating a system, dividing the labor or assigning roles, and then also revisiting. So like if it becomes clear that the system is no longer working for whatever reason, kind of revisiting that and reworking that. It's not really like a set it and forget it thing, just as it's not like just decorate this and never touch it again. It's dynamic, right? So it's like, what's going to work for this phase? So there may be different systems for a school year versus summer break, or, whatever that looks like. And so if you can kind of identify all the different routines you have, and then how your home is like supporting those or not supporting those, and kind of create this plan, and then revisit it when it doesn't work, and know that it's not like a personal flaw. And also knowing that like it's not your fault. Like if you can't keep up with this stuff, it's not like you're personally flawed. It's that you haven't developed systems that are making that easy. There's obviously other influences, phases and areas of your life where the systems are not going to work no matter what. Like if you're having mental health struggles, if you're bringing home a new baby, if you're in a life transition, like there's certain times, no matter the system, like it's rough, and that's okay too. Like you will get back on track, and you will revisit and restructure, and then have a phase where you're up. And it's just like seasons. Like sometimes we're in growing season and flourishing season, and other times we're on the struggle bus and we're going through some stuff. And our house is going to look different in those different seasons, no matter who you are. Those are like the 5 overarching themes of design. And they're really like the 5 elements that when you are taking charge of designing your spaces as an everyday person, you need to consider. Some of these will feel more natural to you than others. Some of them might take a longer time of experimentation, but just knowing that it's not just like function and aesthetics. There's like these really deep levels to our house, and our house is a living, breathing environment that if we can be intentional and set it up well, it will support us. It will support our mental health. It will support our routines. It will feed our soul and make us feel creatively inspired, or feel like we're like expressing ourselves in a beautiful way. It can help us feel safe. And so there's a lot of benefits to being intentional about our homes, just as there's a lot of benefits to being intentional about our finances and our fitness. Know that it is a process, and know that it is not a straight line. If you look at anything growing, it's always, there's like even a stock market chart, like there's dips and drops and it's not a straight line. Same with you. So view your growth cycles as non-linear. So yeah, take some time to think about those 5 themes. Think about where you're naturally kind of already on track, where you might need some more thought, and like, I don't know, give yourself space and freedom to explore them without needing for it to look a certain way. You should go on Instagram and tell me what you thought. I saw a few this week where people had screenshotted the episode or shared like even their own house with something they were doing or some action they took based off of the episode. Like somebody was hosting dinner parties, and she said she'd been waiting to host dinner parties till her like room was done, and she, listened to the podcast and was like, okay, we're going to just do it even though we're not ready. Like, I'm going to live here because I live here and I'm going to have people over. And that one definitely made me cry, and it was so special. But I just love seeing how you guys are like taking some of the insights and like applying them, and just knowing that like some of the things that I'm sharing are like making a tangible impact is so amazing. Like, it's the best feeling ever, but it's also so fun to see that feedback loop, that I'm not just like talking into a void, that like you actually are here and being helped. So yeah, if you want to share, I would love to hear how it's going for you, if you're tackling projects or making changes or just thinking about your home and struggling, like whatever it is. It doesn't have to be like, you had a profound, amazing change, but let me know either way how it's going. At Make Space Pod on Instagram is probably the best spot. But I'm on TikTok and other places too. But yeah, other than that, have a good week. I'll see you next week. And I hope this helped.
Thanks for listening. And if you've got more episodes to catch up on, binge on. Don't let me stop you. But if you've got a second, you should come say hi on Insta at Make Space Pod. And if you're an overachiever, you can also leave a review and I'll love you forever. If you're new here, hit that follow button to officially become a DIY queen and join all the amazing humans tuning in every week.